But you know, I got some footage of, and it's funny. So I was watching the you know, Good Trouble. That's the theme for John Lewis. I was watching the Good Trouble documentary, and it was showing, you know, a march going on. I'm looking in the background. There's my pops, man. I'm like, this is something I got to find out on, like, the rest of the American public.
So by the time you was interested, really into it, he was already transitioned.
He I mean, his health was failing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it was like, I don't want to put nothing that heavy on him like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my mom really didn't know about it.
What's up? How you doing today? Well, anyway, I stopped you because I see that you went to the Original People in the Eve jeans, and I like that dress, man. I was wondering if you would like to be a model. You know, I like how you standing still. You want a model for us? Hello? Anyway, man, that same stone face, no talking pose, I need you to keep that same energy. Check out my card, man, and I would love to have you on the team. Woo. What's up, y'all? This is the Original People in the Eve Jean podcast, where we represent melanated people around the world and uniting melanated cultures across the globe. Now, I made a couple promises to y'all. I told y'all I'm gonna always make sure, you know, I bring people who are here who are high value people who are actually contributing in today's society and making a difference for not only themselves and their lineage, but for the community, the melanated community Pacific. So here today, man, we got the one and only, man, our BMG brother, Des Inc., man. I mean, he does it all, man. A dad, a husband, a minister, man. He does it, man. You know what, man? He need a book, man. He need a book. A book coming up soon. I'm putting it in the air. A book coming up soon, man. He a legend. Not only he a legend, he come from a legend, man. Brian Carter, man. What's up, brother, man?
Thanks, Chum, for having me on,
man.
I just admire what you're doing. Just, man, you know, your podcast, man. I learn something every time I tune in. I learn something and I receive inspiration. So keep it going, man. This is an inspiration to me. One day, maybe I could generate a podcast or something.
You can, man. You're a legend, man. A walking legend, man.
Oh, man.
A living legend.
It's something else, man. It's something else. But we come from great people.
Yep.
We come from, like you say, melanated. We need to understand our history way past America.
Yes, way past America.
Way past America.
You know, we was here before Christopher Columbus. So you know, yes, some of the slaves were already here, and some of us did come off that boat, man. But today, man, I want to get into a couple things. And one thing I want to get into, man, I want to talk about who your pops is, man. You know, let them know, man. I don't want to say too much. I'm gonna let you bring it in.
Well, I tell you, my father, and this is a blessing. My wife reminded me today. You know, sometimes when your pop's been gone for a long time, you just kind of forget. Today is his birthday.
Oh,
He'd been
what?
82 today.
For real?
Yeah.
Today is his birthday.
He would have been 82 today.
Oh, that's dope.
So this is so on point that you invited me to talk about him. So it's like a little shout out, you know, to my ancestry, so to speak. Man. So his name is Joseph Carter. All right, and just a little bit about him. You know, most of us all have roots from down south. So, you know, my people, the Carters, come from down south in near Augusta, Harlem, Georgia is where, you know, they hail from. And, you know, we're sharecroppers and that sort of thing. And, you know, so we went not too long ago to go visit that land down there, you know, to just see, because I'd never seen, you know, because when he was about 6 or 7, they migrated, you know, the Great Migration from down south in Georgia to New York.
Okay.
So, so basically, they set up shop in Brooklyn, New York. And so he was the only child. So my grandparents just kind of raised him, and just with the understanding, you're going to get educated, you're going to be, you know, a good citizen, you know. And so he was able to, you know, graduate from high school, and then he went to.
What year is this? What year did he graduate?
He graduated in like 57.
Okay.
And then he went to seminary, American Bible College down in Tennessee. So a New York boy going to Tennessee.
Oh man.
During, you know, I mean, Tennessee's South.
Yeah.
Tennessee's the South, and so we are definitely dealing with, you know, all kinds of prejudice and everything like that. So he went down there to study, you know, to be a preacher, okay? And so, but this was the birth, around the time of the birth of the civil rights movement. So there was all kinds of trainings and everything on how to do sit-ins. So he jumped right into school, being involved in sit-ins and stuff like that. And so, and guess who one of his co-students was?
I have no idea.
John Lewis.
Oh.
Senator, you know, Congressman John Lewis.
Yeah.
Okay, so before all the congressman stuff.
Wow.
And you know, he has that slogan of is it good? Basically, I forgot what it's called. It's good something. Getting arrested for the good reason. You know what I mean? And so they were involved in sit-ins and everything like that. And they, you know, and it wasn't cool with the school, because the school was run by like Southern Baptist whites, and they just kind of wanted them to be kind of good Negroes, you know, get your education, start a church, keep everybody else quiet, good, subdued, you know, that mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but they broke against that. And they were like, look, we are going to do what is, you know, morally right for our people. So they were involved in the sit-ins and everything. And the biggest thing that happened, you know, in the summer of '61 was the Freedom Rides. Okay. And so if you know your history, the Freedom Rides were students and people from all the way east to all the way south, you know, coming down south and riding on the bus black and white together, which was a no-no. That was a no-no. And so they rode down from Nashville, Tennessee, and came on into Mississippi. And when they got off the bus, Brother Sean, when they got off the bus, they were supposed to be protected by the government, you know, from all the way from Washington. The word was given, nothing is to happen, you know, to these protesters, these freedom riders. And if you ever heard of Bull Durham, he was the very prejudiced, you know, chief of police. And what he did, he got the word, but he decided he was going to delay the message of the protection. You see what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
And so, there had been, of course, a whole lot of things through Martin Luther King protests and different things that are going on. So the heat was on. Okay. So what happened was there was an integrated bus. So black and whites together, sitting together, okay. So
they wasn't separated.
They were not separated.
So it wasn't the melanated people in the back, and you know the whites in the front.
Not at all.
Wow.
Sitting side by side, singing freedom songs. We shall overcome. All of that.
Wow.
So Bull Durham, knowing that they were coming, made an arrangement where it was like, we're going to allow a half an hour window where the good old boys can meet the freedom riders and do their thing. Then they gonna come in and act like, you know,
like
they just arrived. Oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? So what happened is that they got off the bus. Before they even got off the bus, because so many buses were coming in, and of course black and whites were on other buses, but just not sitting together.
Yeah.
So the bus driver, to identify that this is the bus with the troublemakers, with the Freedom Riders, he opens the bus door once he pulls up in the station, the Greyhound station, and says, "Here's the Freedom Riders." Like a great announcement.
Yeah.
And the good old boys just came in like a mob. Now this was the deal. This is why they were so scary. They were so scary because of the fact that the white press was, once they got off the bus, the white press was taking pictures and doing everything like that. Behind the white press were the good old boys, sticks, bats, chains, all that kind of stuff, coming, and the first people they assaulted was the white press. Good old boys, which were white, beating up the white press. So can you imagine, as a black person, seeing these people in front of you getting slaughtered, knowing what's going to happen to you?
Yeah.
So even though they had went through a lot of training, of course, nonviolent type of training, resisting violence, that don't mean, they still cover up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't like we going to fight backs with sticks, bats, or carry a gun or anything like that. So my father's group got backed into a corner, and behind them was a 10-foot drop to a lower garage area. Yeah, and there was a post office nearby. So what they ended up doing was, some of them, just dug down and took the beating. Others jumped over the fence onto cars 10 foot down. Wow. and then went into the post office or went in different places. The main thing, and them being men, and there were women that were there, they couldn't necessarily protect the white women because they couldn't be found, going somewhere with them. But they protected the black women by cab companies were coming. Black-owned cab companies were coming because they knew the trouble was about to happen. They would hustle them into a cab.
Okay, so we was working as
a team and a community.
We had more structure back
organized,
then.
And understanding. So long story short, what ended up happening is that they, some of them, they were able to pretty much escape. But after a beating now, they had to decide what was they going to cover up, their head, where were they going to cover up their ribs or whatever, because they were getting hit. Okay, and the white people that were on the bus with them were getting beat big time just for being associated and to being, against what the good old boys saw as what they call breach of peace, and that's what they were arrested for. It was called breach of peace. Can you imagine?
Wow. So no assault, no charges of battery.
It was.
Wow.
So my father was arrested for breach of peace. What ended up happening is that they
was arrested. Not even the good old boys.
No, they disappeared.
I think you're talking about the good old boys.
Nah, man.
After getting this beaten, imagine that, and then you can block all you want, so this is gonna hit. So your face is probably all bruised.
Whoa. And then the thing of it is that after getting beaten, they went to a church rally and where Martin Luther King was at, and they tried to smoke bomb the church. So no sanctity for God or nothing like that. It was like, we gonna get these people who are breaching the peace. Now you making chaos, but they breaching the peace. They peaceful and nonviolent, but they're breaching the peace. So anyway, it goes.
Wow.
They got arrested. They got hauled off in big old paddy wagons and different things like that. And then they were sent to several jails,
including your father.
My father. Include that. I got a picture of him in a book called The Freedom Riders.
Is it?
Hey, y'all.
Right,
I just want to let y'all know that's him. That's his mugshot.
That's Pops.
In Jackson, Mississippi.
So that was the same mugshot.
That's the same mugshot. This is I found this on the internet. I found this picture on the internet.
So you can find
it's in the archive. I can find his name in the registry on the for the bus. Mm-hmm. So his name, as far as that's concerned, and his picture is in the at Memphis. It's in the Black History Museum.
Man.
The one that's connected to the Lorraine Motel where Martin Luther King was assassinated, right? So his picture was there. This is how I found out about it. A friend of mine said, "Man, I was down there with my kids and stuff, and I think I saw a picture of your dad." And I was like, "You should have called me right then and there." But when he told me that, it took me a year afterwards to go. But I was on the Mecca trip, and I went. And I got some footage of me literally, it's all the mugshots of everyone that was arrested that summer or that period of time for the Freedom Rides. Some of those people were John Lewis, Stokely Carmichael.
Wow.
I mean, some big names, man.
Wow.
And my dad is on the top row.
Wow.
Because I think it was according to Win Your Bus, because it was several buses. One was firebombed. And I'm grateful that that wasn't my dad's bus. I mean, I don't think anybody was killed on the firebomb one, but still, the shock, the trauma that this is the country that I live in, that, I'm here to represent and live calmly, is getting violently firebombed, So, but on his bus, one guy who was, he was from Sweden or something like that, a white guy, and he got beat bloody.
Wow. Because
of the association. So we got to know that people who are non-melanated that are standing up for our cause, there's a big sacrifice that they go through because the association can get you killed. Okay. So back to the story, they didn't just go to one jail. They were kind of shipped to 2 or 3 different jails and returned back to one. And at every jail, they were interrogated. When you watch TV, how the police interrogate you or whatever, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
And they were beaten.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
After they received, multiple beatings.
Yes.
What is that? They're playing with their mental health at this point. I wonder where they feeding them. You never even know about that.
Listen to the feeding part. Once they got to the prison, and I'll tell you about the prison in a second here, they put salt in their food. They heavily salted their food so they wouldn't eat, because they knew that most of these people were college students. So they were trying to psychologically, physically and psychologically tone them down. So this was like being a prisoner of war. You see what I'm saying?
Wow, yeah.
So, like I say, after going to several jails and everything like that, they were, arrested for breach of peace, which, gave a minimum 40-day sentence.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so they took them to a maximum security prison.
Whoa. Whoa.
They treated our women in a very bad way. You look it up on Google, you guys, on how the Freedom Rider women were treated, especially the African American ones. And then they were put on the death row ward.
Oh.
So during the 40 days, 40 to 45 days that they were locked up, they would hear executions. Yes. So can you imagine the trauma, the heaviness, and they still were singing freedom songs. They were singing freedom songs so good that some of the jailers were like, "Y'all got a radio in here. Y'all got a radio in here, and we are gonna strip everybody down until we find the radio." Wow. And that's what they did. And this is another psychological act active war that they did
These
to
are
them.
war tactics.
These are war tactics.
These are war
This is what they did. They got other African American male prisoners who were there, you know, on other charges or whatever. They made them beat the Freedom Riders, and it was described that those males didn't even want to do it, and they would cry as they were made to do. You know, that's slavery stuff, man.
Yeah.
So
this is happening in '61.
This is happening in '61.
And that's not too long.
That is not too long ago. So you know, of course there were big agencies that were there to try to post bail and had lawyers to try to get them, you know, out because you know it just was bad. You know what I mean? And then so the thing of it is, I mean, I knew some of this stuff.
I was just about to get into that because you said you had to have somebody else tell you that. Hey,
oh
man,
my gosh!
Your pops got a picture up here. I was just trying to hear the info.
I had to find out.
I mean, so all these years, how when your pops transitioned, how old were you?
Okay, so when my father passed away, I was a full adult. I was like, you know, I had wife, kids, and stuff like that. So, but the thing of it is,
so he never said anything about it this whole time.
He would answer if I had the question. And this is the thing, Sean, is that it's important for us as descendants to take time while our ancestors, our people are living and breathing, to talk to them. I know Grandma don't want to talk about what happened down south, but if we don't ask her and we don't get that information, it's lost. So exactly what you said. There's a Freedom Riders Museum, which is actually the bus stop where they were beaten, the bus station. I found out about it, and I was me and my family and some friends were visiting the Atlanta area, and I seen how close it was. It was in Alabama. So I was like, I'm gonna go. And so ahead of time, I spoke to the director. Her name was Ms. Washington, and told her I was coming. I told her who my dad was, and she said, "Please come." We got there. She rolled out the red carpet, bro. I mean, she educated me on like the story about being pinned against the 10-foot drop and everything. Yeah. She told me
that's inside information.
Yes.
That's not what you can read.
You know, and even if it's reading, I would have had to read this, that, and everything, you know, to try to find it. And, you know, life gets busy, but it never should be so busy that I shouldn't have known this. And so this is my break to encourage dads. Dads, sit down, talk to your sons about not just the good times, but the hard times. What was hard? Talk about prejudice. Talk about, you know, where your people come from, sharecropping. Your people come from, you know, a hard time in the ghetto, brick concrete, you know, jungle. Yes. Talk about that, drug abuse, any of those things. It's our job as dads to do that, because there's something missing when you don't know about what the struggle your parents went through. Maybe I wouldn't have been as rebellious if I would have known. I knew my father, you know, had met Martin Luther King. Okay, so he told me the fun stories. He told me, you know, I ate dinner at his house, and you know, he even told me what Coretta Scott cooked. Some chicken, some greens, and you know what I'm saying? I mean, so those fun details, and when I would write reports when I was in school and stuff, when I was in elementary and junior high stuff, about, you know, my dad knowing Martin Luther King and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was like, hey, and I got pictures, you know, hopefully you can post that on your site of him actually getting off of the bus and Martin Luther King shaking his hand. So that was cool, but maybe my wife alluded to me, maybe he was just like so traumatized and shocked from the experience as to why he didn't get into horrid detail as to how he was persecuted. You know what I mean?
Scare you too.
Right. Exactly. But and I remember my grandmother talking about, when they were in New York and knew that my dad was doing the Freedom Rides, that they were scared to death and praying and everything like that, and glad he made it safe back home or back to school and whatever. But man, it's mind blowing how America has been so cruel, and how we've gotten better, but it ain't all good.
And when your pops was going through this, was you born yet? Did he meet your mom yet?
No, that was during his up and popping. He was like 19, 20, college age. 19, 20, 21, and the training he had to go through. He had the people from up north had to go through special training because they didn't live like the folks down south, so they didn't know Jim Crow.
They fought back for people.
They fought back. Yes.
If somebody said something that was a racial slur or something, they fought back in New York.
Definitely, that's a Brooklyn style, man. You know what I mean? So when he went to school down south and got in this training through CORE and through SNCC and through Martin Luther King route or whatever, they had to practice being called words and being pushed on and stuff being poured on their head and everything like that. So for the sit-ins and different things. So wow, at 19, can you imagine?
I couldn't, man.
I mean, it's just like it's that holdback. So I commend him for doing that for not just me, but for our people. You know what I'm saying? For our people. And so. Yeah, man. So it was really something. The school was so angry about all the things that were going on and stuff that they threatened to expel them.
Oh, wow.
And he wasn't able to do, the big march on Washington in 1963. He wasn't able to participate because they put so many sanctions and said, y'all go down there, you have an assignment or whatever, you will not be able to make it up and you will have to stay in school an extra year. Well, look at the dilemma here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then people like John Lewis, they went ahead and did it. I think John Lewis was 1 year under my dad, so he had, some leverage or whatever. And so, of course, he was at the March on Washington. He was one of the speakers. But, I got some footage of, and it's funny. So I was watching the, Good Trouble. That's the theme for John Lewis. I was watching the Good Trouble documentary, and it was showing, a march going on. I'm looking in the background. There's my pops, man. I'm like, this is something I got to find out on like the rest of the American public.
So by the time you was interested, really into it, he was already trained.
He I mean, his health was failing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Okay. And it was like, I don't want to put nothing that heavy on him like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And my mom really didn't know about it because they hadn't met.
She never probably asked too many questions.
She probably knew a little bit, but not a lot, because once again, it's like suppressed. That was after he graduated from college. That was the rough time of his life, you know what I'm saying? And then he just went on to being married and being a family. Man. And then, not that he didn't do other, civil things and
How many kids did your father have?
Oh, it's just me and my brother.
Okay.
So I'm the oldest. I was born in '67, and then my brother was born in '72.
Okay.
So, and then we moved from New York when I was young to West Virginia.
Oh, man.
So, you know what I'm saying? So he did do some kind of equality things, related to, when we got to West Virginia, but just not on that broad scale like that. You know what I mean? So, Miss Washington got me connected after I met her down at the museum with a schoolmate, a living schoolmate, because a lot of them are gone, of my father. I interviewed him and put it on YouTube, and
we're gonna share the link. Yep, I got it. And we're gonna share the link right down below in the description. You can find the link in the description.
His name is Dr. Bernard Lafayette. Yeah. Now he went on to doing a lot of civil rights stuff and everything, but he blew my mind. Even with some of the little college stories
what was
about
he
my
saying
dad
about
and
your
stuff.
pops, man?
He
What
was
kind
just
of
talking
words,
about
man?
how, like, you know, he just was down for the cause, man. You know what I'm saying? And
That's
how
where you get it
they had a
from.
singing group together, and they actually sang in Carnegie Hall, man.
What?
I mean, all of this was blowing my mind. So once again, I'm telling you guys,
What?
interview
So you never heard
your parents.
Never heard your daddy hit a note?
Man, sing, but I didn't know he could get out like that. Carnegie Hall.
You say, "Pop,
I'm like, what?
You have any of that
Man, if I
strength?
would have known all this, man, my son might have been named Junior. He might have been a second. You know, he might have been.
Yeah.
His middle name is Bar Joseph, which means son of Joseph.
Okay.
But man, it just makes my heart feel good. And something my wife tells me all the time is that he would be proud of what I'm doing. I mean, I was, you know, he got to see me do some social work and some different things, you know, before he passed on. But, you know, sometimes you go through a phase in your life. I'm 55, so you go through a phase in your life where you're like, you know, am I doing good? Am I doing enough? You know, some people call it midlife crisis, but I call it just midlife transition. So in that transition, you start to questioning, is your living and the things that you're doing, you know, worthwhile? And I mean, we got wasted years, we got selfish years, and those selfish years is what every man regrets. You know what I mean? Like, your selfish years might have been when you was running the streets and doing all that sort of thing. But see, look at the great work that you're doing now. You're a father, you're an entrepreneur, you got this great podcast.
Part of BMG.
You
know, I love BMG, man. I read man.
Ever since I met you, man, you've been down with it. So those are the things, you know. So, you know, I teach fatherhood classes. And you were part of the online Nurturing Fathers class that we had.
Man. It was great.
There was some great principles, chopping it up, and we learned from you.
I learned a lot from that class.
And you stood up for the melanated people, all up on there.
Every time, everywhere I go, I warn people.
I
warn people. My sister, she wanted me to come and speak to her school. I warn people. I say, I'm very melanated. And I have no problem about it. I'm going to talk about us. And
that's the experience, because what you're doing, and like you pre-homeschooling your kids, and these are the people were inspired by hearing that. So I got a virtual one that's starting Wednesday, September 14th, and if you could post that information,
I can post it.
You know, Wednesday evenings, it's like 6:30 to 8:15, and it's for 8 weeks. But man, it's over before you know it. But we get a lot of great principles.
I still talk to Jadelle.
Man, that's wonderful. See,
you know,
so there's connections,
day, but I still talk to him like I still
that was another brother that was involved in the class, and so it's an opportunity to make connections. So, you know, my program is called Dad's Inc., and you know, that particular class is Nurturing Fathers, which is an awesome curriculum. But BMG, you know, a lot of people try to say, "Oh man, I did not start BMG." I'm gonna let everybody know right now. BMG stands for Black Men's Group, and it got its start 7 years ago when a bunch of brothers who work in the system, we were like, we took a course that was called Undoing Racism, and Ron Chisholm of the People's Group really inspired us to make change and not be what they call negative gatekeepers. And negative gatekeepers would be the same of being like an Uncle Tom.
Okay.
So we're like, we ain't gonna be Uncle Toms because we are working, we're seeing our youth get locked up, we're seeing our families go through the struggle. We want to give them the keys. We want to be the gatekeeper to open up to positivity, to open up to resources that they can go to get free from the system. You know the system ain't good.
At all.
System is not good, and there's so many systems where racism is the basis of the system. Housing, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, the school system. Definitely the prison, the criminal justice system. You know, banking and all the. I mean,
the whole system.
Thank you.
Every part of the system.
So if you work for the system, you definitely do not want to be the Uncle Tom of that system to help further capture your people.
We'll pause you for
and believe it or not, selling dope is an Uncle Tom way of the system. It's a derivative of. It's a derivative of, you know, slavery. It's a derivative of, you know, racism. But understand, that's not an excuse, because who you selling that stuff to? You ain't selling that stuff to the white man. You know, and it's been brought to you. You didn't get the plane to go get the stuff either. So you in the system, brother. So don't Uncle Tom for even the sake of you getting extra pair of Nikes or some kind of fancy car. We gotta be committed. So BMG started that way, saying we are committed. You know, and Greg Ellis and Judge Gaither, they were like, look, we got to do something. And that's how BMG got its start. And so BMG is all about black men and affiliated people undoing racism. And the 4 pillars that we stand on, that foundation of undoing racism, is men, youth, celebrating our elders, because I'm never going to let a day go by where I don't celebrate elders anymore. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
You invited me to DJ your grandmother's 70th day. I can't wait, because that's a celebration of a living elder. You see what I'm saying? And I hope during that ceremony, y'all are listening, y'all are sitting at her feet to glean from her wisdom. You know what I'm saying? That's mama wisdom.
That is.
See what I'm saying? So celebrating elders, and then lastly, working with those that are coming back to our community, which means what? Those who are coming back from prison.
Okay.
Didn't you need that support when you came back?
Yeah.
And also those that are struggling with alcohol, drugs, you know, any kind of, you know, substance abuse or whatever. Saying that, hey, we're not going to throw you away. So we just had an event where we celebrated. We had a cookout. And we was and why do we call it a cookout instead of a picnic?
Cause man, we not using no word picnic.
No, man, y'all got the education now. We ain't using that word picnic no more. Take it away from your lips.
And the cookout,
because picnic mean pick up, nick, to hang. We don't ever want to say that again. So call it a cookout, barbecue or something, but not
a picnic. No worries.
So we had that, man, and Brother Shumford gave a testimony that just blew our minds. He was talking about.
I posted on here too.
Yeah. Oh man, please do.
You said something.
Because he talked about how it was like, I'm gonna stop being selfish. I'm gonna stop being street oriented. I'm gonna listen to my support system. My woman who been with me since the 7th grade. You said
7th grade.
Said that I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
You ain't getting me no more. You were getting away from me by thinking you making some money for us. It's time to grow up. And we thank our sisters for being that common sense sometimes. We thank our mothers for being that common sense. But us as men, we gotta now take that role back as being common sense and saying, look, we gonna address our brothers and say, hey, I'm here for you. You ever had somebody say, I'm here for you, bro? But the minute you get in the pinch, you can't. They ain't even turning no.
And I want to get more into a lot of things. Des Inc and all, but I want to dive more into what BMG is about. What kind of events y'all? Well, not y'all. We, because I'm a part of BMG. So
those events,
so let them in events, because there's a couple of events I want them to know, like how we have them yearly. They're great. Let them know what a BMG event be like.
Our men events, of course, is exactly what I explained. The men, and then that recovery piece. That was the 2 outside pillars. The youth event.
There we go.
We got 2 youth events in particular that it's time for men to teach young men how to do stuff. It's called Mentor Training Day. And so Mentor, we got one coming up Saturday, September 17th.
Yeah, I don't know
at the municipal.
I don't know if this episode is gonna be posted by then.
Okay, but be on the lookout because we do 2 a year. So brother Summer came, man. You know he make these t-shirts. You know he taught me everything I know about making t-shirts.
I appreciate that.
He, you know, we got a t-shirt making station. We got a station on how to tie a long tie. We got a station on how to tie a short tie. How to fly drones. How to do robotics. How to change a tire. how to look under the hood and know what
I learned something
things.
that
my Lord.
Believe it or not, see, I didn't grow up with a pop, so I didn't really know too much about what cars, man.
Mm-hmm.
I went out there and I kind of got lost. I was supposed to be making sure I'm with my group.
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
stuck
you was
with
one of the group
yeah,
leaders.
with my group leaders. I'm playing dudes like, oh, bro, you really into it? I said, man, I'm learning, bro. I said, look, bro, I'm learning just like you.
Because a lot of us didn't have pops that either they were working so hard or they weren't in the home to teach us. That's why we got to step in as men to make sure our kids understand finances, their physical fitness as an outlet instead of drugs, instead of fighting, and how to solve conflict. We had 17 different stations.
Yeah.
Man, there was a guy that was teaching about how to repair drywall.
Yeah, I was like,
what's the difference between a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips head? All that.
Man.
Posture and presentation, he could definitely teach this because he knows that he's got to look into the camera, he's got to have great eye contact. We have to teach our young people that. We even had a station that was called the Appreciation Station. So they can use their phone or they can write appreciation letters to people while they're living.
Yeah.
If I could go back and appreciate my father for all the things, the struggles that he went through, I would spend years. I probably wouldn't have had no friends. I would just spend years at his feet learning from him. Because isn't that legacy?
Yeah, that's a legacy.
I need to know what the next generation of Carters are to do. That's why I take time to write my son's letters and say, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm going through. And let's talk about it. Because I want you to be the better Carter. You want your son to be the better Shumpert.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And that's what it's all about. So that's a piece of BMG.
And for somebody who interested, how do they? Is there any requirements?
Man, you ain't got to give no ounce of blood. We ain't got no secret mama handshake or nothing like that. But what is it called? It's called Black Men's Group. Guess what you got to be? A black man.
You feel me?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All you gotta and be committed.
Yeah.
We do something pretty much every month.
Every
but
month.
if you've got a busy schedule, just commit to 2 things. Commit to 3 things. We meet on Zoom
be
once a
honest
month,
about
but
that,
commit to that.
I feel like because I'm a very busy man.
Ooh.
But I always make sure I attend to BMG. You know why? Because I feel like this. And a lot of people, I know y'all can agree with this, man. We need to take time out of our busy schedules, man.
Wow.
And make sure our generation is great because I've been there. I wish it was a BMG when I was growing up. And y'all had these events. I've been all up there. I've been wanting to bump into somebody like me who've been through the same situations I have. So I always make sure, man. I don't want to get into how I met my brother and his beautiful wife. My sister. They my big brother, my big sister.
Absolutely, man.
I was at Him by Her, which y'all know I talk about them a lot. I do a lot of things.
Great job, Harry Dunn. Great job.
Yep. And Miss CC. Shout out to Miss CC.
Oh, hey,
yeah, what's up, babe? I was there. I think we was at one of their first events. And brother sat right next to me. He had this big old sign, BMG. And I'm looking like, BMG, man. I'm like, okay, Black Man's Group. As soon as I saw a Black Man Group, I said, oh, okay. He putting up his stuff. No, that's not how I actually bumped into you. We actually bumped into each other outside of the building.
Yes, you helped me bring the things in. See, brotherly love.
Yeah, see, I was just helping them out, and it was just natural. Man, we were just having this dope conversations, man. We was getting along, and my son really he's not too friendly to the people. He was going to our sister Gloria. He was like, oh, okay, she cool. So it was just connecting, man. We were just connecting.
And I was so impressed by your booth. I was so impressed by the Eve jean, the t-shirts, the whole, essence of what it's all about. It was like, we brothers.
Yeah, we met, we was talking. He gave me his card. I don't know if he didn't believe me or not, but I said, you know what, I'm at the next event.
Yes, sir.
He said, oh, okay. And I was at the next event, man. And I've been trying to go to every event ever since then, man.
He's been so supportive, and it's such a blessing because I got some gray hairs, as you can see, and sometimes that's a little bit of a gap between me and young people. I can set up the program, or BMG can set up the whole program, but we need soldiers like this brother. Now, with common sense, you know what I'm saying? He ain't wild and going crazy, and he ain't fresh off the streets, but he got enough that is like, look, y'all know he know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You better listen to his story because he's an overcomer. You know, with as many people in your family who have been killed or incarcerated, you know, for life and everything like that, you have overcome so much, man. And for our people.
I appreciate it, man. And that's why I had to bring you on here, man. We not done. I'm just letting you know. That's why I had to bring my brother on here.
I'm grateful.
Because, man, no, you do a lot. You know, I feel like people always wait till you're gone or something. Then they be like, oh, Brian Carter. Then nah, man, I want Brian Carter to see his statue. I don't want his son crying looking at the statue saying, man, what would my daddy say about I want him crying, him and his wife crying with each other, looking like, look at this statue. I want them. That's what
I'm still trying to, you speak of statue. You know, one of my goals is to go, is to have a bench of memorial or something like that at the college, you know, where my father went to, you know, down in Tennessee, where, you know, the whole freedom rides and everything and sit-ins were started. I want to do something in memorial to him, you know, because that to me would be a crowning fulfillment. I tried to get to John Lewis before he passed away. I didn't know he was sick. And we were trying to get to him in D.C.
Tell us about that story.
Because he knew, you know, the mention at I called his office and talked to his people, and I said, I don't know if my, you know, John Lewis remembers my dad, Joseph Carter, and everything, and he sent the message through to them, yeah, Joe Carter, yeah, and he wanted to see us, but I didn't know he was sick, so we didn't get to him in time before he passed away. And so that was one regret that I had or whatever, that I didn't get to speak. But then when I got to talk to Dr. Bernard Lafayette, it soothed my soul, because somebody that knew my pops, that went through the same stuff, was able to verify. And I mean, you know, it's in books, it's documented, you know what I mean? But, you know, you got the mug shot. But to hear it from somebody's mouth who was literally there, it's just a blessing, man. Yeah. And that's why I love sharing the story. It ain't sharing for a bragging part like, hey, my dad. It's, you know, well, I guess you should to a degree. You should always brag on your people, you know what I'm saying? Like we brag on our kids. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I brag on my kids.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, man, they are some beautiful kids, man.
You got some good kids too, and they grown.
Man, oh my goodness, man.
I'm sorry. They older than me. That's some good man. That's some good man.
So we, you know, we do our part of walking in legacy.
Yeah.
You know, there's a hashtag I have that's called Move On Carter. And when my dad would preach, and when he seen that, you know, it's time to move up to another level, he, you know, in this sermon or whatever, he said, all right, move on, Carter.
I like that.
And I say it as kind of like a joke type of fashion, but I created that hashtag. See, we can use modern technology like hashtags and Tic Tok, and I am encouraged just by talking to you to create some kind of page in memorial to him. Yeah. Because if he's in, you know, 2 museums that I know about, I haven't made it to the Civil Rights Museum that's in Washington, D.C., but I do know he sang at a rally. He was part of a singing group for his college, a Freedom Riders, you know, a Freedom singing group, and he is on an album that was nationally published that's in the Smithsonian.
Wow.
Dude, I want that album.
Man.
So these are things that before, you know how you have a bucket list before you croak off, you know, things that you need to do. All right, I've already made it to 2 museums. I got another 2 museums to go to see my dad's work. You know what I mean? And then to collect, I'm quite sure, somebody told me it's the record company and everything that record was on. I gotta have that. I gotta, now with computers and everything, I may not have the physical album, but I can have the recording. You know what I mean?
And how does, I want you to explain, let them know this, just in case, you know, it probably not be your pops, but it could be your grandpa or somebody else down the line. How does knowing who your father was inspire you today? Like, how does it inspire you today?
It just kind of gives you a sense of melanated pride, black pride. You know what I'm saying? That we were part of a change. We were part of a difference. You know what I mean? So it makes me that I'm not a pastor, like a pulpit pastor, but I have I minister at my church. I preach and everything. But I'm a teacher.
Right?
I've been, thank you for reminding me. Okay, so just like my dad was incarcerated for the cause, now I voluntarily get incarcerated every Tuesday. Okay, every Tuesday.
And what do you do?
I go to the fatherhood class that we mentioned. I do a 10-week version for my brothers and unmelanated brothers in the prison system. And we talk about it is the Plainfield short-term facility. It's called Heritage Trail. And then I just got the invite to go further up, further west to Putnamville.
Okay.
So I'm so excited about going to Putnamville and meeting up with more of my brothers. And see, I wear my Black Men's Group bracelet, and not a week comes
I think my
goes
brother's
by
in Putnam.
where
So
they go.
Get there,
Really?
I need you to shout out. I'm gonna give you his name.
Please.
And please, my little brother.
We're going to find him.
Man.
We're going to find him. Because it's about that connection. Them brothers going home.
Yeah, my brother.
I'm not at the max security prison. I'm at the 2-year prison, the 3 to 5 year, stints or whatever. So these brothers are returning to the community. Black men got to be there for black men. That's what the Black Men Group is about. We gonna be there for them. Maybe one day we gonna have enough money that we can put money on folks' books. Do you know how much a blessing putting money on people's books is?
Yes.
Man, everybody don't have stuff. And their family can't always get there. What can you imagine Black Men Group having a van and picking up like people's mamas and people's children's mothers and the children and putting them on the bus, and we gonna go for visitation at Putnamville, or we gonna go for visitation somewhere, because we know the way the system derives it, the prisons are so far away that it's hard for support systems like mothers and everything to get there. Now they got electronics and all that kind of stuff, but they make you pay for it.
Make you pay for everything.
They make you pay for it,
And
so therefore it's a money-making business.
Yeah.
It's a system.
I think for $20, I only get to talk to my brother for like what, 1 or 2 phone calls.
See what
and
I'm
they
saying?
only probably can be like 5, 10,
real
5
quick, and that a lot of times you that's not enough to build support for our brothers and everything. And people that are locked up, let's look at it. There are systemic racist reasons why they are locked up. So we got to counteract that, y'all. So thank you for inviting me, to talk about BMG, to talk about my pops, to talk about Dad's Inc. and the Nurture Fathers program,
No
man.
problem, man. We here at the Original People glad you came, man. Hold on, before we go, man. Hold on. I gotta be right back.
Oh shoot. Look at that.
You know we gotta hook up our brother, man. Man.
That's
Our
me
brother,
now,
man.
y'all.
Yeah.
That's me
That's
now,
our
y'all.
brother, man.
Look at that. The
shout out
original
to them,
people
man.
and the
And the
Eugene. You
Eugene,
better
man.
get the education.
For real.
You better get the education.
Yeah.
Man, I know you do it all the time, but just explain, because I'm going to repost this stuff.
Yeah.
So explain the this bird.
Okay, I got you, man. This is called a black crown crane. Only can be found in South Africa. Our people used to use it to represent a better future, right?
Wow.
So if you look at his body shape, right? Even though we was the first people everywhere, we was the first people in America, the first people in Australia, the first people everywhere. His body is shaped like Africa
I
to
see
represent
that.
our motherland.
Wow.
Where all the education, all the civilization came from.
Wow.
So it's basically saying, a better future to Africa and the original people in the Eugene.
See what I'm saying about
Oh,
the
that
education,
means,
y'all?
man.
Man, is blowing my
Man,
mind.
this all came to me because I figured out who I was. Like
Wow.
you said, I figured out, I digged up my ancestors, and I didn't find Joseph Carter in my DNA,
That's
but
okay,
I found
man.
Brian Carter.
We don't know. We gotta go back, man. You gotta take a DNA, and I'm gonna take a DNA. We gonna find out where we could be
Yeah,
linked.
because our age difference is big, but it's like, man, I was like, man, dog, man, it's like, I know you, man.
You're
like,
so real to talk to, man.
And I
appreciate that,
love
man.
it, man.
You and your whole family, brother.
Appreciate it, man. I love it, man. And as we wrap it up here, man, we want to say once again, thank you for Dad's Inc. Thank you for BMG. Thank you for Joseph Carter. Thank you. What's your mama name? We can't forget
Alzina Carter.
Alzina Carter, because she the one who birthed you.
Wow.
You know, we can't forget her.
Wow.
And shout out to our sister, Gloria Carter.
Wow.
And your sons too, man.
Yeah,
you know,
man. Isaiah and Malachi.
Yep. And we out of here, y'all. The original people, don't forget who we are. We uniting melanated people around the world and unite melanated cultures across the globe. Let's do it. Peace.
Peace.